here. Let's do that. Lord God, Father, we thank you so much that we can come again together and fellowship with each other over the computer airways. And right now, Father, I just pray that you'll give our sister Meskerem peace and wisdom. Just thank you for the good work she's been doing there, Lord, in Ethiopia. Just pray that you'll watch over her and give her direction and resources and all that's needed, Lord, for her to continue to carry out your plans. Just pray that you'll watch over all our technology again, Lord, as we depend on these computers and various technologies in order to make these sessions work. So we just trust you, Father, for all these matters. It's in your name, Jesus, we pray now. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Why don't we take a minute and just, everybody could sort of introduce themselves, kind of help me know who's who here. Glenn, I don't think I know you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Glenn Solomon. I am an associate professor of economics at Flagler College in Florida.
All right.
Nice to meet you.
Good to have you on board here.
Thanks.
Great to meet you.
Okay.
Great to meet you as well.
All right. Okay. And I'm Bill, by the way, Bill Payne. I'm the director of doctoral, what's my title? Director of doctoral projects or something like that here at Bucky Graduate University. And Doug, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Doug Barnett. I am currently the director for the MA in Global Urban Leadership. In spite of that, or around that, I have my doctorate in agricultural economics from Purdue, and my master's dissertation was on the use of animal traction in Senegal. That was many, many years ago. For 30 years with international and some community development in Africa, including World Vision and the African Development Bank.
Nice to meet you.
All right. Thanks, Doug. And Gwen, we probably all know you, but for formalities, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I've had many roles, but right now I'm Meskerem's dissertation supervisor. I am the Senior Vice President of International Partnerships. I have been to Ethiopia multiple times, and I just love what BGU is doing in terms of developing transformational leaders. So that's what we're looking for. We are continuing to grow, and we are continuing to improve. But I tell you, we started because part of it is what God places in our hearts and the mission he gives us. And so I teach a theology of work around the world. I've been in about, I hate to say, 30, 40 countries so far I've taught in. And I love to see how God is moving around the world. And so it's a delight to serve with you, Meskerem.
Thank you, Glenn. And our academic dean, Dr. Martin.
Hello, I am Martin O'Dewett, and I am the academic dean for Bucky Graduate University.
We need a little more volume from you.
Oh, sorry, is this better?
That's much better.
Okay, I'm the academic dean for Bucky Graduate University, and before that I spent a few decades in Africa and most lately directing a doctoral program in transformational leadership for French-speaking African leaders. And yep, I do support African leadership development. That's the heart. That's what my passion is about. One of them, at least.
Right. And Miss Meskerem, we all know you too, but you could introduce yourself. Need to turn on your microphone.
My name is Meskerem Nigussie. I also have BA in economics, MA in development economics from England, postgraduate diploma on integrated planning from Israel, development in England, experience. I mean, starting from Commercial Bank of Ethiopia to UNDP, International UNDP, World Bank, and so on. Thank you.
All right. Great. All right. If my voice can hold out here, let me just kind of go over the agenda today. We're going to spend about 15, 30 minutes, I guess probably up to 30 minutes. Meskerem has a little longer presentation. She'll take us through a PowerPoint. We'll be listening. As we're listening to that, I'd like us to be thinking of questions, discussion topics that we might work with when we go into a discussion time after the presentation, which will involve maybe another 45 minutes. After we've had that discussion, then those of us on the voting committee, we will go into an evaluation session for about 15 minutes. I need to take everyone else out of the session during that time, but stay on board with your computers. Be about 15 minutes, then we will bring you back in to the session to announce the results of our evaluation. Okay. So with that, I think we will go ahead and do a presentation. I think I have Meskerem's PowerPoint presentation, so let me share my screen. Hold on a minute. Okay, that's about as big as I can make that right now. I guess I could try to do a full screen. Let's see if it works. Sometimes it, it always puts it over on the other monitor, so I'm gonna have to come back out of that. Okay, Meskerem, you just tell me when to change slides and I will control the presentation that way.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Payne, for introducing us with each other. This afternoon, I'm going to present my dissertation project entitled Path to End Poverty, the case of Ejere district of in Ethiopia, specifically Chirri Qabale. Qabale is the lowest administrative unit in Ethiopia. We have it in each district. Next slide, please. The issue here is that the poor farmers in Ejere district who are in absolute poverty or in a vicious circle of poverty has not been assisted neither by NGOs, while the government providing only advice through development agents. So it is sort of a neglected area. The purpose of my project is to improve the lives of households by providing one-time assistance and capacity building and skills development in agriculture and other income-generating activities. Next slide, please. The objective of the research, I'm saying research because this is a new project. It is not an existing project. So the objective is to identify the root causes of that is prohibiting the smallholders from living a decent life they deserve. To seek solution to improve the way they live. Next slide, please.
There we go.
Okay. What are the problems to be addressed? The major problem to be addressed is low production and productivity, which comes due to several reasons, like rain-fed agriculture. The other ones are traditional farming tools and harvesting methods. As you can see from here, the tools the farmers are using is wood. Unless the land is really wet, it is hard for them to plow the land. So they need rains. Also, you can see the harvesting methods. They are using their hands. They harvest with sickle. Because of this, there is loss of production, and also the quality is low. Next one, please. Okay, the other problems are the seasonality. In Ethiopia, there are 2 seasons of rain, February to April and June to September. If there is a good rain, then they can farm twice a year. But most of the time, particularly the February to March one, they don't get it. And even the June one, sometimes it starts early, other times it comes late. Like, for example, in Ethiopia now, it is raining heavily, so the probability is that the rain might stop in July, where they were supposed to plow the land. There is also small land holdings, because the land is being distributed to all family members. Whenever a girl or a boy gets married, then the land has to be given to them. So it's getting smaller and smaller. The other one is climate change. Climate change is affecting as well as the rest of the world. So there is famine in Ethiopia now, in the northern part of Ethiopia and the eastern part. About 7 million people are starving at the moment. And there is also lack of access to finance due to lack of collateral. The farmers don't have their own oxen, so they have to give their land for plowing to other oxen owners, which makes it worse for them, because 50% of the produce is taken by the oxen owner. There is no small-scale irrigation, since the capital required is so high for them. There is employment and underemployment during slack periods due to lack of income again for them to engage in farm activities. The next one, please. The other slide. No, next one.
There we go.
Yes. Scope and limitation. The scope of the research is 20. I have interviewed face-to-face 24 household heads, 14 households for focus group discussion. I have done detailed case studies for 2 family heads, and 20 experts from agricultural office and livestock and fisheries development office have been interviewed. The expected limitation of the implementation of PEP, Path to End Poverty, is funding, the restriction of the government to raise funds from the outside world. It is only 10%. 90% should come from locally. This could be hard to find, but I will for sure do that. Next one. So the context, I'd like to present to you 3 types of policies in Ethiopia, where the first one, starting early 20th century to 1973, was headed by a king. There was private land ownership. Though wealthy people owned most of the land, there was the opportunity to buy land if one had the money. There was free market, food self-sufficiency. In fact, Ethiopia was seen as bread basket of Africa at that time. Though there is famine in northern part of Ethiopia, it continued up to now. There is famine. The socialist or military government ruled from 1974 to 1990. The land was confiscated from the rich and given to the farmers with the motto of land to the tiller. Land holding was limited by the government. In fact, the government was distributing land particularly to the farmers. Agricultural products were also distributed by the government through cooperatives. Price was set, you know, the socialist government, so everything was being done by the government. But Ethiopia was seen as hungry Ethiopia. Famine, as I said, is always there. So next slide, please. Okay, the current government, starting from 1991 till present, is ruling the country. if you see the countries of, bordering Ethiopia, Eritrea was separated from Ethiopia during this government. Now it is bordering Ethiopia at the northern part. The southern part is Kenya, eastern Somalia and Djibouti, and western part South Sudan. So during the time of the government, land is owned totally by the government, urban, rural land, agriculture dependent on rain. Ethiopia, as you know, is one of the least developed countries in the world. There is free market, but few people are getting richer and richer, and the others getting poorer and poorer. There is political and economic instability in Ethiopia for the last 3 years, particularly. There is recurring famine due to climate change. As I said, 7 million people are studying at the moment. Next one, please. How do the rest of the world see Ethiopia? They think it is highly influenced by Orthodox religion. Of course, most of the people are Orthodox, but Protestant is also flourishing at the moment. Traditional and religious beliefs influence the way people live. That's also true. There is a collective culture rather than individualistic. People live together, they eat together, they are together while during happy and sad times. Well, the rest of the world knows Ethiopia as hungry Ethiopia, and there is lack of stability. That's what the outside world knows, and that's true. Next one, please. The audience of my project will be Livestock and Fisheries Development Organization and Agricultural Office level, the project management, beneficiaries of the project, other non-government organization, the PLC, families, friends, and other stakeholders and partners will be the audience of the project. As time progresses, maybe the audience might increase. Next one. What is my personal role in addressing the problem? I have a long time experience working with poor people, like since 2000. I understand their feeling, their low self-esteem, hopelessness, frustration, as well as their preparedness to change their lives, given assistance. They are in a vicious circle of poverty, they need assistance, so that will be my personal role. I have good working relationship at all levels, including development agents and community leaders in the area, and in other areas as well. I have been working almost throughout the country. It's not only, the knowledge I have about Chirri Kabali, but I was working at different level in different areas. So I know most of the people who are working in the poor area, the food security organization as well. I have a plan to establish PEP, look for partners locally and internationally as well. I will lobby for funding, whatever chance I get, in conferences, meetings, or by going to their offices. I will create networking with other similar organizations and continuous monitoring of activities. Next one, please. What were the intervention strategies that I have used while working on my research? I have organized a meeting for the government office, leaders and experts. Initially, before I started the interview, so that they allow me to interview those people, because in Ethiopia, one cannot just go and interview farmers. It will be taken as a political issue. So I have done that, and I was allowed to work with them. I have also organized a workshop to discuss the outcome of the interviews focus group discussion, and the case study which I have done on for farmers. I have the workshop, in fact, included the agricultural office and the livestock office, as well as the development agents who have been really assisting me throughout the interview, focus group discussion, and so on. The development agents were really helpful. So data from the interviews and focus group discussion and the case study were presented during the workshop, and the leaders of agricultural office and the FPO reached agreement that the problems identified by the smallholders were correct, even though initially they said there is no poverty in that area. Next one, please. Research and design methodology. The approach I used for research was qualitative research. And the method was random sampling for interview and for the FGD. Primary data through interviews and focus group discussion, case studies, and also secondary data was used from the district office. Triangulation approach was also applied, like the 20 smallholders which have been interviewed on family history, agricultural production, productivity, education status. The same issues were discussed with the focus group discussion, case study and workshop organized on the outcome of the interview, and FGD. Thank you. Next one. What were the sources I used while doing my research? Primary sources were interview, FGD, and case study. Next one, please. Secondary source, for the literature review, I used books on poverty, like Unpoverty, Helping Hearts, and Poor Britain, for example, some of them. Other books I used were on leadership, organizational development, climate change, and agriculture. I have also used the perspectives of transformational leadership of BGU. I have a plan to use, I know all of them are really good, but I'm planning to use 3 of them for the management of PEP, the servant leadership, reflective leadership, and contextual leadership. Those people who have that knowledge will be preferred to serve as the management of the PEP. The courses, of course, research and design has helped me a lot, starting from the proposal writing up to now. Personal assessment course, this has helped me to self-reflect, like what I've been doing before, what I should do, how I should do it. Theology of work helped me a lot. I have also developed a manual for theology training, which for the course, which I am going to use for training, to give training to these households together with the churches, in fact. I am planning to work with the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the Protestant Church, and if there are other churches as well. I want to work with all the churches. At the same time, discussion will be held among themselves as well. Donors, grants, and social media, this has helped me a lot. Me a way to know which donors I should contact, how to do it, and when I should do it. So all the courses I've taken have helped me a lot. Next one, please. Next one. Okay. No, maybe if you go back one. Yeah. I use the Bible verses from Luke Matthew, John, Proverbs, Psalm, and Genesis to look at the poor. And it's important to know Jesus has been looking, and he was also always supporting them. So we should follow that. I have done that one. Books on the poor, Ecclesiastes, on time to judge, Thessalonians, work quietly and to earn their own living, what they have written on all the poor work for themselves. Toward a theology of work, it says work is sustainably redeemed and redeeming. For demography, I use a Central Statistical Authority demographic survey of Ethiopia for the population on Ethiopia and the Jere district. World Atlas for world population, African population, and comparison between world, African, and Ethiopian population. What did I learn through the process of the research? I learned that there is lack of transparency and accountability of the government officials in a Jere district, maybe, but I've learned that one initially. They don't want me to go and research. As I said, they thought maybe it is political, but after thorough discussion and the person who was assisting me telling them that it is just for research, they allowed me. So the importance of having face-to-face interview, as I have learned a lot from that. I knew there was poverty, but I didn't know. I mean, it was poverty and how those people were in a vicious cycle. I was able to see the self-esteem, how frustrated and hopeless they are. I learned a lot from the triangulation approach, as I have already explained that one. The worldview, relating Bible to research as well. I learned a lot, really. I was reading the Bible, but not specifically on the poor related to Jesus. So I read that one. It was good. In general, I came to know that reducing or alleviating poverty is time-taking, needs patience and courage from those planning to help the poor and the poor people themselves. Because we cannot really reduce poverty overnight. It takes time. Myself as a change agent, as I'm saying, the long-term experience I have working with poor people, with food insecurity areas. I was head of the food insecurity Waradas while working with the USAID. And my vision, starting from long ago to work with the poor and helping the poor. My giftedness and call towards helping poor people. I didn't know that I was gifted to work with the poor, but through time I see that I'm helping them, talking to them, convincing them, and the way they were happy and so on. So I would have gifted to work with them. And I also think that to work for the poor is a calling from God. And I learned also that one. So I will use that skill working with them. I respect the culture in Ethiopia, but transforming some of them, like gender equality, working habits, and so on, will be one of my role. Training on theology, as I said, manually developed during the theology of work course. The internal feeling I have about the poor and the plan I have to work with the church and community leaders to change the attitude of the people. I will be part of the solution by working closely with government officers, with organizations working on the poor, the Agricultural Office and Livestock Development Office at all levels. Next one, please. Okay. What are now the findings? The findings from the primary and secondary data shows that there is absolute poverty in Jirikabele. It shows that there is a vicious circle of poverty due to low production and productivity, as I've been saying. There is small land holding, and in addition to that, whenever there is shortage of rain, and at times heavy rains come, and as a result, unexpected worm comes and it's up whatever a grain has started growing. Low application of fertilizer due to lack of finance, no oxen are giving their land to oxen owners, where they cannot feed themselves and their family. And as I have been saying, there is no saving, low labor productivity. Oh my God. I'm sorry. There is this was the alarm. Low productivity, low labor productivity due to low income, because these farmers cannot involve themselves in income generating activities. They don't have money to start small businesses like small shops where they can sell salt, sugar, and oil. They cannot do that. They cannot buy small ruminants which they could fatten and sell. Lack of access also is one of the findings due to absence of collateral to take loan from the banks. As I said, whatever they are producing is not enough to feed themselves. As you have seen, the tables I have prepared in my dissertation, the amount of food that each family is producing really frustrating, because whatever I use for a month, they don't even get it for a year to feed themselves. Next one, please. Education. There is low level of education or no education for parents and children. This poverty is running from family to family. In that area, their grandparents were not educated, they are not educated, and their children cannot be educated because they are poor. The family background, poor with no education, and the absence of support from NGOs and the government been seen. The maximum the government is giving is advice, sending the development agent to the area where farmers live. But for NGOs, there is no support. From my experience, NGOs want to work with better off people so that they can show the donors and the government that they have achieved a lot. But with those really poor, the poorest of the poor, no NGO wants to work in Ethiopia, from my experience. Of course, there is a program for food insecure waradas, which was established by the government and USAID. Even then they prefer to work with the better off than working with the poor. Next one, please. I think the other one. If you go back one slide, please, Dr. Payne. Oh, okay. Sorry. Then let's go to the next one. So, what is my contribution to the research or new finding? I think the new. I'm sure the new finding I have identified the existence of vicious circle of poverty for the first time in Chirri, Kabale, because it is a forgotten area. no one knew that. They know that they are poor, really poor, but no one knew that there is a vicious circle out of which they cannot come out. As I said, NGOs are not interested. The other thing I identified is a low labor productivity due to lack of oxygen and other income generating activities. So people think that these people are poor because they were lazy. That is not the truth. They have no income to improve their lives. The government is not giving them to improve their lives. They don't give them oxygen. So the major problem is not that they are lazy. It is because they don't have income. Poverty was taken as God given by the poor themselves and other better off people. While I was talking with them, they said it is God that made us poor, so we have to remain. That is not the truth. God created everybody equally, and if they work, they will be better as well. Changed attitude on gender equality and work as God given. So these are my contributions to the research I have done. Okay, what are the changes observed? I have observed regarding beneficiaries and the community that they have now started saying what have you been doing so far, and what are we supposed to do? Because initially they were saying we are poor, God given us, so we don't need to work, we just sit there and die. They have started to change their ideas on banks and MFIs to access finance. It takes time, but they are thinking about it. Attitudinal change on tradition, particularly on gender equality. They were also thinking here that God has given sort of specialization that the woman should work at home, take care of the children, fetch water, fetch firewood. All that should be done by women, but that is not the truth. So we have been discussing on that one, and there is attitudinal change both by men and women in that area. Organizational, as I said, the office, even though they knew that there is poverty, they didn't want to tell me, but now officially they are talking about the poverty in recovery after we have discussed the findings. Now the leaders are willing to help the poor, though the government budget is very low. It doesn't allow them to do whatever they want because the government is also poor. Ethiopia is a very big country. Either the government or NGOs cannot go from corner to corner. Regarding culture, awareness has been created on gender equality and work has been created. Next one, please. Okay, what is the intervention plan or way forward for my project? I am planning from July to September 2018, God willing, organizing a consultation workshop. This will help learn about existing situations on NGOs in Ethiopia. Things are changing a little bit in Ethiopia now. We have a new prime minister who is trying to transform the country. So I should know about what is going on NGOs. Create opportunities to meet with funding organizations, participate in conferences and workshops. That will give me the opportunity to produce PEP. Lobbying for fundraising, I will do that, and securing funding during the part of the year. Next one, please. Okay, the project starts in October 2018. I have written here indicative plans only. once we start the project, we'll work on monthly plan so that we'll be able to follow up with of the project. Office will be set up, baseline survey on the assets of the community, which will help us know what we have contributed during the midterm evaluation and at the end of the project. That will help us for comparison. We will do that. Training capacity building will be given to the households. Skills and knowledge on farming activities and income generating activities as well. If they start income generating activities, they should be able to manage their business and also so these kinds of training will be given. Purchasing agricultural tools, oxen and sheep and goods as of farm activity. As I have been saying, there will be a one-time assistance. The project will buy oxen, 2 oxen per family, and small ruminants, so that the farmers will be able will involve themselves in income generating activities rather than waiting just for farming and harvesting. So the small ruminants with that one is they fatten them and sell them and use the profit to feed themselves and also to send their children to school. And they can also build up assets through time, where they can be able to have a small-scale irrigation dam and other hand tools as needed. Handing over of materials will be done. Follow-up activities will be performed. Regular report writing, monitoring and evaluation, networking, other similar organizations, handing over to agricultural and livestock development organization to create sustainability when PEP phases out. Thank you. Next one, please. Okay, summary and conclusion. The summary is that PEP is a proper project that will be implemented to improve the lives of poor farmers. To check on that, as I have been saying, interviews, FGDs, workshops, meetings have been conducted, and the result was there was absolute poverty. It is witness that these farmers did not have decent house to live in, basic needs like eating, proper food, clothing, water. Women has to travel a long distance to fetch water. Animals and people are drinking from the same river at times. Education for their children could not be met due to lack of income. This is a vicious circle of poverty I have been talking about. Whenever there is low production, there is low income. They cannot save. No investment could be done. They cannot have capital to buy the necessary tools for production. So it is sort of a vicious circle. One has to break this circle for them to live a better life. Next one, please. That is the end one. As a conclusion, the low production, productivity, lack of access to finance, low labor productivity, absence of oxen leads the farmers to absolute poverty. They are trapped in a vicious circle of poverty, which made it hard for them to come out of it. So I think that urgent action required to help these farmers. Hence, the next step will be establishing PEP and looking for funding for implementation, implement the planned activities. Close collaboration should be created with the government office for the sake of sustainability of the intervention. Because once PEP goes, then they might slide back to the previous situation. But once agricultural office and livestock development office assigned to work with them, then they will follow up, monitor them, and so on. There should be also linking the farmers with local traders in case of excess production. Thank you so much for your attention.
Okay, thank you, Meskerem. Very nice, very nicely done. We'd like to spend a little time now thinking about the project, the written project, the oral presentation. And let's just kind of start. I'll just open the microphone now to anybody that would like to speak, and let's go from there.
Hello, this is Gwen Meskerem, and I just wanted to know, what do you feel has been the result of your intervention thus far? You have been very active, you've talked with these people, you've met with groups. How do the people that are poor, how do they feel? The groups that you have interviewed individually.
They were really happy. They said it is the first time that people talk to them. They said nobody reminded them, knew about them, talked with them. So they were very, very happy, and they said it in their own words. We are happy that now somebody came to us and discussed with us our problem, and they're looking forward for the implementation.
Thank you. And I would just ask, do you feel after talking with them that they're ready to accept it, that if they have an oxen, they can actually do more rather than loaning it out to the land, to other farmers?
Yes, because they have been saying we try our best. We don't have oxen, so 50% of our produce is being taken by the other oxen farmers. If we get oxen, then we'll be happy. We have, even though it is not a modern skill and knowledge, they say with they have the knowledge on agricultural production, so they will work on that one.
And I have one other in this vein right now. Are they ready to accept loans, if they get them from banks to help themselves, like for the fertilizer and for other things that they haven't had access to because they didn't have the funds, so they didn't put it in. But the fright is possibly that the only thing they have to offer is that their land is their collateral. Are they frightened they will lose what they have if they get a loan?
Yeah. Obviously, they were really frightened. We have been discussing. In fact, we took longer time for discussing this one. They say if we take loan, then we cannot repay it. Our land will be taken. Yeah, so they are really afraid about that one. But I suggested that they could take a group loan, like 5 of them will take the loan together. They divide it among themselves. They share responsibility. If one fails to pay, the other 4 will pay for them. So they're thinking about it. They're convinced.
Very good. So you've got a group think rather than an individual, because it's kind of frightening to think I might lose everything I have.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll turn this over to somebody else for a question. Those were some initial ones I had.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Pinks.
Let me just ask one question here, Meskerem. As you're thinking about the work you're doing with the Path to End Poverty organization, how would you say what you're trying to do through that organization compares to, say, other efforts that possibly have gone on in that area? And what do you think it is that will make your particular organization, your approach, be maybe more unique more effective than, say, some other approaches that have been tried in that particular area?
The approaches we have been using was like when I was working with livestock development project. We are working with these poor people through government offices. It is the government office that was selecting the beneficiaries. That one was really, we were doubting, are they really the poorest of the poor? Or do they have connection with the government people so that they will be selected and to get it? But in my case, we are the ones who I'm the one who has been selecting randomly with the development agencies. These people are really poor, so I have confidence that they will be able to change and they are the right people. Did I answer your question?
Okay. So as you're looking at the project, it's people can possibly cooperate with your organization, not feeling, are we going to be selected for a government program, etc. There'll be more of a sense of working with the private organizations such as yours. There may be a little more hope in terms of working with your group. Would that kind of be what you'd be thinking?
I'm in cooperation with the private sector. The church will be involved, and NGO similar organizations will be, so that they will be able to exchange experience from other non-government organizations. I'm planning, when I work the details, I'm planning a tour to other NGOs so that they see how other beneficiaries working with other NGOs are dealing with like handling of animals, plowing the land, what skills are they using, so that they can come back and use it for themselves.
Okay.
I just want to add something to that. I've been to that area several times and I haven't really seen change or growth, even though Ethiopia is growing as a whole. And I really believe that, it's an area that needed this project at the moment because Ethiopia is growing. It's one of the fastest growing countries in the world, actually. But there are some areas that haven't really been a part of this growth. And so I appreciate that, you chose that area.
Would you say there's maybe not really a lot of NGOs working in that particular area? It's been maybe a little neglected?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, it is very much neglected. It is not because of political reasons. It is really neglected. As other places as well. If you go to other regions, as I've been saying, Ethiopia is a big country. NGOs cannot go from corner to corner to help these poor people. So yes, it is true. They are neglected.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
So how will this project be different from other projects that have been implemented in this area? What is going to make it different so that it's going to be successful? And going with this, what is the accountability system that is going to be put in place that will really be an encouragement to those farmers to move forward?
Excuse me, Dr. Eliud, can you repeat the second question?
What accountability system will be implemented and be helpful to the farmers so that they are going to be motivated to move forward and not be discouraged as soon as they have some setbacks?
Okay, thank you so much. This project will be different from others. I'm thinking of, working with all kinds of stakeholders, starting from the church, the private sector, the government offices, the NGOs. I'm not going to work it alone, but with all these stakeholders, so that we'll have conferences every quarter or every 6 months, meet together, discuss the problems, seek solutions, and once they go back, then they come and say, we have done this and these problems have been solved. That's what I'm thinking about it. I'm not doing it alone, but with a group of NGOs, government offices with similar vision, and that's what makes it different. And the accountability system for motivation, people, the farmers should be accountable to what they are doing, to their deeds, and also the government should be responsible to work with them. I'm mentioning the government several times because in Ethiopia, you cannot move an inch without the government. They don't trust people. So there should be a relationship with the government, which I have already said.
That's where, I'm sorry I'm interrupting, but that's where my next question is. Do you have any way to influence the government to take their responsibility? Because I'm hearing a lot that from you and other African students, and I've dealt with that in Africa, we often say the government should do this and should do that, but there's no way, when we are not directly influencing, we don't have a position of influence in the government. It's just an easy way to say the government should. What can you personally do to ensure that the government will, or what if the government wants, what else is there to be done?
Agriculture is a priority of the government of Ethiopia. They are looking forward to work towards that. If there is assistance, if there is a change in the lives of the poor people, it is the leader of that district which will be promoted and appreciated by the government itself, because priority is set for agriculture, and the government person should work with others. They will be happy to have NGOs working for them. I personally, I have started building a relationship, discussing with them, explaining to them the aim of the project, and also the workshops and the meetings we are going to handle will help us to come together, and also we'll go to the field with them to see what is being, show them that there is no political intention at all, because they are always afraid of political intention. They think NGOs will go convince them so that they come against the government. So as I have been saying, the government, they have no budget, really. They don't give them budget to give it to all poor farmers to buy hand tools and so on. But going to the field, looking at them, even though they don't have the budget, the NGOs supplement that the budget of the government, so that they will be convinced to work with us.
I might follow on that. If you excuse me, Martine, I like that question. Do you know anyone of influence in the government that will speak for you, or do you have a voice in the government?
Voice in the government. As I said, I have good relationship starting from the federal level up to the district level, as I have been working with them for about 20 years in different regions in Oromia. Also, I have been working with 4 or 5 districts, not the one I'm talking about now, but on the southern part of Oromia. So I know people. regional level, particularly the regional people, I know them very well. The district, I have now started working with them. So it is a good opportunity, as you said, to have someone who can talk for me, being a voice to others. Yeah.
Very good, because it's important to have a voice when we can no longer go further.
Yes. Yeah, that is really the truth. Yeah, yeah. As Dr. Adut was saying, I don't really say the government should do this, should do that, but having good relationship with the government is really important. If it is in other countries, maybe it is not important. But in the Ethiopian case, you cannot move an inch without them. So you have to have good relationship.
Exactly. I understand. I've understood from Jimber about this. So
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Meskerem.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I was really touched by your description of the people's poverty as it came out in your dissertation. I know it can be very, very hard. Now, are you as you move forward with the project? Are you the project director? Are you going to live in is it Chile? And or do you have some other job right now that you're doing?
Uh-huh. I work with the director. I'll be in the board. That's what I'm thinking. The board is really important to look at the policies, budget, planning, and so on. So what I'm thinking is I will be in the board, but the director we are going to hire as board members should be there. Well, maybe in Addis and then travel from time to time. That person should have this style of servant leadership. A person who goes down to the poor families, live with them, see what they are doing, see how poor they are, stay in their house, so that he feels the poverty. At the moment, I am working as a field staff with USAID. I'm not working. So I will be following up the project because it is my vision. I really want my vision to be achieved at the end of the day.
Yeah. There was something that I found fairly stunning or shocking, and maybe it's just a question of the wording. You mentioned that NGOs can only take 10% of international funds and 90% of resources have to be raised locally. Now, and yet, what the part that's not clear to me is that there are large NGOs in Ethiopia, World Vision, World Concern, Food for the Hungry, CARE, Save the Children. These are international NGOs that have multi-million-dollar projects, and sometimes they're executing, the projects that have been agreed upon by donors. So, is there one set of rules for international NGOs and a different set of rules for local NGOs? Is that why there's a 10% sort of restriction on fundraising?
That is true. The restriction is on local NGOs. The local NGOs, they really want to work local NGOs. It is sort of discouraging. They don't want us to work on good governance. As local NGO, we go deep into the society. Maybe the international NGOs don't do that. So they think if you teach good governance, transparency, accountability, rule of law, and so on, you will be able to convince those people. So, in fact, even international NGOs, as you might know, are not allowed to work on good governance. As you have also said, there are big NGOs like CARE, World Vision, and so on. These are the ones I am going to approach to give me funding as international NGOs. Just the 10%, even the 10% of it. The 90%, the 90 to come up with the 90%. I'll go around, look for funding from these organizations like World Vision, CARE, USAID, and so on. So this restriction is on local NGOs only.
Yeah. Well, now, given this restriction and given the need in the area where you're working, what I was just thinking another strategy, or I mean, I'm trying to understand your thinking here. Another strategy might be to entice or invite one of these international NGOs to come down and open a district office. And I mean, that way there would be more resources that they could bring in. Is something like that feasible, or are there restrictions in place that keep them from opening up an office in a new area?
They can do so, but from my experience, they have their own areas where they have to work. Even the international NGOs themselves, they choose areas where to work. So if it lies in their area, then you brought a very good idea. That will be one of my discussion points with this NGO.
Yeah. Well, certainly, if this is a neglected area, the aid or donor coordination is an issue, and that's why, one World Vision might be in this and A, B, C district, and Food for the Hungry is in district E, F, and G. But if this is one that is where no one is, it's certainly that sort of pioneer territory, and that would give them some opportunity to expand their ability to influence and contribute to the well-being of Ethiopia.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Your idea is well taken. It will be one of the points that I'm going to discuss. Yeah.
And then you've made an important point about the lack of collateral to even secure a loan. There are Christian and of course non-Christian NGOs, or just purely commercial microfinance institutions that help people start up these mutual credit associations. Like you said, taking out a group loan. Even though people, and this is how Muhammad Yunus, got some of the program going in Bangladesh that, launched the whole microfinance industry, where people so poor they might even give 25 cents a week or 50 cents a week to a collective pot, and then when that gets up to a certain size, each family on a rotating basis, gets the benefit of that. When there's so little to start with, building on what the people have, they see it as their money. It's not, collateral at risk and things like that. They might use some of that to purchase tools, or to purchase a goat, and things like that. Where, with your previous experience in livestock, where else have oxen projects gone on in the greater area around Addis? I understand Chire district or Kabele that's about 60 kilometers west of Addis. Is that right?
50. But you go deep into the rural area. This is a rural area, Chire Kabele. It's not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kabele. Yeah. So, but it's like a 1 or 2 hour drive from the capital.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the road good between
Yeah.
there and the capital?
Good road, but when you go to the rural areas, it is not a good road.
Yeah. Now, the have you already selected the 20 families that will receive this first set of oxen?
Yes. Yes, I have already selected together with the development agents. I have interviewed them.
How many different villages are they in?
In one kabale.
Well, yeah, the 20 families represent how many villages?
Kabale is less than a village. It is, as I said, it is the smallest unit in every district. So it is just a kabale. There are communities, in fact, within the kabale. I think they came from 5 communities.
Okay, 5 communities.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So as you have been saying, I have experience, like you said, contributing a small amount every month. We call it ukub, so that these farmers contribute 50 cents or 1 birr every month, so that when there is a problem, when one of them defaults to pay the loan, they can use that one. So we are thinking about that one as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, where else have oxen projects gone on? You know, within a 100-mile radius of Addis.
Oxen projects, you mean providing oxen to
yes, including the training on how to use the plow, how to care for the oxen, where to go when the oxen is sick, access to veterinarian medicines. All that training goes into helping someone. If this has been a family that for generations has not had livestock for oxen, then it would be like giving me a giant truck to suddenly transport goods between cities, and that would give me a job. But I don't know how to maintain a truck. I don't know how to drive a truck. So what other projects have done this? What are some of the best practices that have been identified for ensuring successful adoption of oxen?
Yeah, I mean, even if these farmers don't have oxen, in neighboring districts, there are people who own oxen. That's why I said I will prepare a tour to those areas so that these people will learn from the neighboring villages, the neighboring districts. So as for the veterinary training and other trainings, that's why I said one of the areas that I will be collaborating with the government. The government have experience, these development agents have experience giving training on these things. There are also veterinarians in other areas as well, even if they are not there in Ejare district or Chirri Kabale. From neighboring districts, I also, as Dr. Gwen was saying, I have people who have promised to give me, in fact, free training on oxen handling, sheep and goat, and also to give vaccination to this oxen and the small ruminants that I'm thinking of giving them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Someone else would like to ask a question.
Dr. Blen, I would like to hear
ahead.
your perspective.
I was part of her personal learning, community. So a lot of the questions that I've had have been answered throughout this whole process. so I don't have outstanding questions.
Okay.
I have a question still in the back because you keep mentioning the importance of realizing they didn't, the importance of increasing the awareness of gender inequality. So my question is, because I've been in Ethiopia and I realize this, I mean, I've seen the women coming down from the hills above Addis
Yes.
carrying huge bundles of
Yeah, okay.
wood after they cut it and all of this. I mean, the role of women is very different. And one of our professors is in Nairobi right now at an international convention that she has called on gender equality and working with them. I guess my question would be, are the people there ready to accept that single mothers, because you mention as you write that many of these women are left alone without husbands in charge of the farm and can't make the income, are they willing to accept that single mothers can run the farm, that they can handle the oxen, that they can handle this?
It is a good question. I have experience on that. We have been given training to on gender equality in different regions. So the burden is always on women. Yes, they accept single farmers to take loan, to take responsibility, to work with similar male-headed households. They can do that. When it comes to farming, what they do is there is what we call double. Single mothers, neighboring men, they come and farm for them freely. Yeah, they do that.
Wonderful. Because then one of my last questions would be, what changes have you seen that occurred as a result of your intervention so far? Have you seen results in the region or changes because of your talking with these people, because of giving them hope, giving them, a future potential? What have you seen?
I see attitudes change, sort of attitude, because this is a new project. I don't work with them for a long time. It is only attitudes change that I see, because when we were discussing about gender equality, they said God created us to shoulder all this burden as women. Men shouldn't do that. So we had several days discussion, and finally, even the men said, "Now you are right. We have to assist our wives as much as we can, but still we have to work on that one. It is not easy." Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Meskerem, I've reviewed a little bit your action plan at the end of the chapter 7. And I've had some experience of developing projects in other African regions. I have also had the experience that we have a tendency to want to set up a system, a bureaucratic system, offices and all that to start with. And then we are going to work on the ground, possibly. And I have experimented that actually developing small pilot projects before setting up an overarching system is often more efficient, because it demonstrates that you're actually working on the ground, that you are making a difference on the ground. And then it's going to be easier to set up a bigger structure that will cover the whole area.
Yeah.
And I know it's more an action research perspective, but and I don't want to generalize for all Africa or what I've implemented in West Africa, West Africa especially, but we have a tendency to do the bureaucratic stuff first, and then hopefully we'll do the rest. And in several projects I've developed, I have led leaders to start from scratch with very small pilot projects and grow from bottom up. And this is more transformational, I feel. When you start with a small pilot project that works, it will be much more convincing for you to convince the government and everybody else about the feasibility of the project that you want to develop on a long-term basis. And you involve the community from start up instead of from top to the bottom, and you will rally people much more efficiently if you start with a small on-the-ground project rather than starting to build offices and hire people with money that you don't have. You can start with a little bit that you have and that the community has, pull them together, start a mini pilot project, and then build on that and demonstrate the efficiency of what you're doing. That's my question and my
it is a very good idea. We have also seen in Ethiopia starting with small and replicating the idea to other regions.
Definitely.
It is a very good idea. Thinking if I don't get the funding right away, then I will use your idea. Thank you so much for that. Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts, questions, comments? So are you ready?
Not at this time.
Okay. Maybe we'll go into an evaluation session then. We've spent about 45 minutes in a discussion time. So what I'll be doing here, I'll be pulling you different ones out of the session. Stay by your computers. We'll probably have you out of the session for about 15 minutes while a few of us on the voting committee talk. So now you will be starting to be put on hold. Let's see, I think I've got everybody out. 1, 2, 3, 4. I will pause the recording.
Welcome back.
All right. Gwen's going to take the microphone and go ahead, Gwen.
Okay. Well, Meskerem, sorry we were away so long, but I have to congratulate you and say that you passed. So graduation is there for you, and you will be a new doctor. But I have to say, just like so many of our students, you know, there are still recommendations of changes that you need to make in your writing, and we need these by June 30. So I don't know what your travel plans are, but we will work with you, and I really appreciate it, Dr. Blinn, if you can even work with her and help her. Any assistance? Are you her daughter?
I am.
Wonderful. I'll see you there then. Okay.
Right.
I am so happy, and I'm so happy because the project is so valid, Meskerem, and we just pray God's blessing on this whole thing. And the recommendations I think you'll see are good, and we will keep you in prayer, but we want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes, I just want to add congratulations, Ms. Graham. You've done some very good work. Some of our recommendations just on a technical point of view, but you know, you've got just so much potential that we believe that you will be able to unlock in that particular area. Like we've already mentioned, there's been neglected in some ways, and we're just praying that the Lord will give you the wisdom and the resources to help move God's agenda forward in that particular area of Ethiopia. So again, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right. We need to close off the Zoom room. We've kind of actually gone over our time
Gone
today.
over our time.
Yeah, we have. But again, I appreciate all of you being a part of this. Gwen will send you the recommendations once we get those all straightened out. You'll be headed for graduation and celebrating with, I think we've got 40-some students who will be involved in graduation this year, between some doctoral and master's students. So celebrate.
Work hard because I'm the graduation speaker. So
Right.
okay.
Okay, well, with that, I'm going to sign off and say Godspeed and God's blessing on all.
Godspeed.
Thank you.
God's blessing.
All right.
Bye now.
Bye.